Welcome everyone to today's presentation, on-site inspections introductory overview. Now this presentation is designed for the newbie, for someone who is not familiarized with on-site inspections or field inspections, and simply is to give a introductory overview of just the world of field inspections. And Today's presentation is simply to familiarize yourself with it. You won't become an expert overnight, but it's just something so that you can understand what's going on and so that you can pose and ask better questions. Now, if you are an experienced field inspector, then this information is probably at minimum, just a review of what you already know. And feel free to share any comments or any improvements that we can make to this presentation. We welcome any uh, insights or recommendations from my viewers, and thank you. So without further ado, we'll start with just a little bit about me. I'm a U.S. Army retired veteran. I'm the owner of the Rendell Group, and as a part one of the things, a part of the renter group, is that we do the field site inspections. And this is where you come in helping the renter group fulfill that. So today's agenda is just simply just talk about the on-site inspections. I've just gave a precursor review of what we'll be talking about. And then the main two things that you see highlighted in red is to understand risk assessment when it comes to insurance compliance inspections, but more so risk in general, because today we live in a very volatile environment and people are all of the different mindsets. So we want you to be safe out there, in other words. Photographer requirements for inspections. This is probably the bread of the butter. The picture will tell the story. If you have clear, crisp photos, then on our side, we can ascertain and see and assess any additional risk that we may spot through the photos there. So your work, as though it may seem very minuscule, or are not important, it is very important, and the photos is second to arriving at the correct address. The photos are the most important aspect of these inspections there. And then we'll cover some tips and tricks. The report writing, unless you have been assigned some additional tasks for report writing. We're going to briefly go over that, but we're not going to spend any detail on it because it doesn't apply to you. And then we're just going to wrap up, okay? So the definition and purpose. So the on-site inspections, these inspections are for commercial properties. In other words, when we go out on these inspections, client asks us, not just the rental group, but there's many other players out on the field to go out and conduct an on-site inspections. These inspections are generally, for most part, 90% or above related to insurance inspections. So for a client, when they start a new insurance policy, a request from us is require our presence, or sometimes renewal, whatever the case may be. The other 10% may be from landlord. It might be drive-by inspections, but when those inspections come along, we will give you the necessary details in order to fulfill those inspections. But generally, as we've said before, they come in relationship to insurance and real estate and construction. And your role is just simply to just document a property. We're going to give you a location, you're going to go there, and you're going to document the property by taking great photos. I always say, let your photos do the walking and the talking. Let it tell the story. So long as your photos are clear, we're good to go. And who should be performing these inspections? Listen, a lot of folks look for the fruit of the vine as opposed to even starting the seed. they want something before something happens. Well, with anything, there has to be an initiator. There has to be a start. It has to be a seed planted. And if you are of the mindset or visionary to say, hey, I can take this and grow with it once I understand it. My part now to you is to make sure you understand the a general overview of what's required and what these inspections deal with. This is the biggest part, just a mindset, okay? But this may not be for you. You may want that strictly 9 to 5, that's fine. But just know we're in a world of changing, ever so changing environment. Your employer, when times get tough, they cut the fat. They cut the fat by trimming HR, human resources, people, because it takes 30-40% of for all businesses, that is where the bulk of their money is going, paying salaries for people. And 9 to 5 is great. I work a 9 to 5, not currently now on my 9 to 5. In my job, I work a 9 to 5. But the point that I'm trying to make is that you need to have more irons in the fire. In other words, you need to have more multiple streams of income. Work your 9 to 5. These inspections are geared and tailored to around when you have time in the course of your normal day, if you're going to Walmart or going to shopping, these inspections may be along your route. And we try to put those in your particular area. If you're in Macon, if you're in Thomaston, Atlanta, Montgomery, Phoenix City, what have you, we try to put those inspections where you don't have to travel no more than about 10, 15 miles. Okay. So if you're of the mindset to, hey, I'm a go-getter, I'm a visionary, I can do this, then hey, you've met the most challenging requirement, and that is just belief, mindset. Of course, you got to have transportation to get there, or some way to get there. Be it your car, or somebody's helping you to get there, and of course, the last is a little technological savvy. If you know how to use a smartphone and send pictures, I think you'll meet that requirement there. So it's not too much more than that. For risk assessment, first and foremost, I want you just to think about risk itself. Your safety is paramount to anything. We don't want you showing up at a wrong address um, at the wrong time and then be met with some risk to you or those that are surrounding you. So that's first and foremost. But this definition of risk constitutes and relates to the inspections. Inspections in terms of for a structure or building, like if there's exposed wiring that could electrocute someone. Is there any trip fall hazards that could cause a liability for the owner or for the insurance underwriter? Is there any environmental concerns, road safety, what have you? On our side, we'll do the assessing of that. On your requirement is just to simply take good, clear, crisp photos. And again, risk is a very all-encompassing term, and I want you to think of two parts again. Your safety is always first, okay? I don't want to get you bitten by a dog or you hurt yourself or whatever the case may be, or showing up at the wrong address. But um, we also want you to understand that the risk that we're talking about is in terms of the structural buildings that we're documenting, okay? So doing these inspections there, again, we're looking for any cracks of the wall, damage, electrical issues, whatnot, but we'll look at those risks from the photos that you send us. And then use the checklist that we sent you. If we have not already, we will just request it and we'll send it to you. But you don't have to prompt us. We normally should be able to send that to you right away there. Um, and we are constantly updating and revising and improving that. Your feedback also would help if you see any errors or unclear statements within those inspection checklist guide. Okay. So we'll pretty much for the risk there, we'll kind of like identify there. We just want you to go out, take pictures. The pictures will tell us what we need to know. And then just to prioritize the risk, I really wouldn't worry about that either. If there's something that you blatantly see to say, hey, there's water pouring out like crazy into this building, or there's sparks flying. I mean, that's something that not only you want to document with photos, but you want to like, hey, give us a call and say, hey, look, this is what I saw on this inspection, so that we can kind of raise a flag and alertness to the actual clients or stakeholders that we're serving so that we do the right thing. Okay, everything that we're doing, we're going to come from a value of, doing the right thing. And the more value that we can add to our clients, the more they trust us and the more work that we can get. So the importance of visual documentation, you will hear me harp on this from time and time. Pictures tell the stories. They got to be clear. And if they're clear, we can see any um, risk, we can see any problem areas, and we can also see that the structural is well sound and taken care of. Okay. Your photos help evidence and support our report writing, if that makes sense. Okay. Best photography practices, again, refer back to the inspector's checklist or guide that you have or we will send. But the main thing is to use your smartphone. There won't be any like after dark or limited visibility hours of taking photos. No, these are all within the daytime, okay? Your angles mean a lot. Now, if you're familiar with smartphones, a lot of times you may see people on Instagram holding their phones vertical, north to south. Well, that's not the way we want you to hold it. We want you to hold the photos from left to right or landscape mode. Why? Because this angle gives us the most widest angle, and then we were able to see all of the structure. You able to cover um, if it's in the interior, the full room width, or on the outside, not just the front, but a little of the sides as well. So, but wide angle generally would get you in the money each and every time. Okay, just again, ensure the photos are clear, they're in focus, they're properly lit. And so when you're taking photos, you might periodically check and to see, hey, these photos are good. When you generally on the exterior, you don't have a problem so long as you stop, you shoot, you focus the focus on the camera and shoot. You generally don't have any problem because you got enough light on the outside to ensure that the picture is clear and crisp. Now, when you go on the inside, that's a different story because sometimes the areas may not be as well lit or whatnot, or um, the lighting is poor, and so you have to be pretty still and make sure when you take these photos that the photos are clear. Now, if unlike me, I have a iPhone 8 Plus, very antiquated. I had it since 2017. I still take good photos with it. But if you have newer phones, like I'm only familiar with the iPhones, maybe like the 13, 14. I think they're up to like 17, 18 now. You'll probably have no problems because these phones are so good. They're just as good as they're just as good as a professional camera. So I just wanted just to kind of impart some of these things that you will encounter, and just to give you a full view of photography is your money maker. And again, there will be a separate presentation or video on photography. Probably do some live demos of, hey, here's what you can expect on a typical inspection, okay? And then what we're also going to try to do to incorporate onboarding process is not only to give you the presentation and then deep dive in some particular areas such as photography, best practices, risk assessment, whatever the case may be, but also meet you one-on-one and then do an inspection with you so that one, you build up confidence, you understand what you have to do, you understand what we have been doing and based on our experience, and then you have a better feel. Okay. It's nothing like being briefed as you are now about and familiarizing yourself about what to expect, but it's another thing to actually do I guess a OJT, on-job training type deal to where you now you feel comfortable what you need to know. Okay. But together, both this presentation and on the ground and some of the deep dives will give you pretty much 98% clarity. And then for the rest of 2%, for those questions that you may have, you can always send them back to us. Okay. But a smartphone is generally what you need to be using there. And if you're pretty good with that, um, we feel that you'll have no worries. Okay, organizing your label photos now. I don't know about the Android. I would assume that they may have some feature like this, but for example, if you have two or three inspections to do, you just don't want to send me or send whoever you're going to send all of the photos because we may not know some photos, which photos belong to which address. Um, and so a recommended methodology is to choreograph your photos or label them. Here's an example. Here's what I mean. So if you have three inspections, right? Let's just say you have the first inspections at 123 Addison Street, right? You're going to send, hey, this is 123, send me a text, 123 Addison Street, send the text, and then all the photos that are associated and belong to 123 Addison Street, send those pictures. Then if you have another inspection, you do the same for that address, followed by the pictures, and so on and so on. This way, we can help categorize, segregate, and we know which photos to go along with. Now, one other thing is that on the iPhone, you can go into your photos, right? You can go into your photos, and at the top of your photo gallery, you can click select. Well, this allows you to select the photos, right? And they'll be once you mark them or select them, there'll be a little in the right hand corner of each picture, a check mark surrounded by a circle to let you know that they have been selected. And at the bottom of your screen on your phone, there's a little, like a little square with an arrow on it pointing upward. If you click on it at the bottom left, then it will take you to, and then you scroll up, you'll see copy iCloud link. And when you copy that link, when you click that copy that link, it then make a hyperlink or it links to those photos and to where you can just send an email or through text, hey, here's 123 Addison, the name, and then you can send the link as opposed to the pictures. Either way works, but I think the link is probably the best. And we can go in more detail to that to where, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. But in other words, I'll get that link, I'll click on that link, I'll download those photos, I'll check them, QA/QC them, quality assurance, quality control to make sure they're clear and they're readable, and we have all the requirements such as address, street view, left and right, street address, um, or the address, front of the building, a left side view, a right side view, a rear view, interior photos, what have you. Okay, so that's what I mean by just labeling, so that when we get them, because you just think about it, you're one of many or one of several that are sending photos to us, and so we want to make sure that one, we match and marry up the correct address with the correct pictures. Okay, here's some good examples of good photos. You see the one to the left there, and that was an actual photo, I believe, taken by one of my assistants there. But you see, this would be considered a left side view. So when we're facing a particular structure or building, that's front of view. But if we go to the left side of it, it's always how you see the structure. That's left side view because you not only see the left side, but you see the front as well. But we consider that the left side view because it's coming from the left side there. In the middle there, but anyway, let me back up a little bit. But you see on the outside it's clear, very clear, crisp. I can document and see that that structure is very well taken. There's no risk, any ordinary risk that I see. Now moving to the center here, this is an interior photo of I think it's a GNC-like type shop that sells vitamins or what have you. Shops vary. It's not the contents what we're after and we're trying to make clear. It is just simple that you see that the camera is wide angle or landscape mode to where we are standing at the door and we're shooting a picture back to the rear of the building. The building is not very large, probably about 800 square feet at most, but we can see pretty much everything within the building. Okay, and that's the clarity that I want you to get, and that's the clarity that I want you to be aware of, and particularly inside photos there. Again, if you um, these new cameras are pretty awesome about taking photos and you don't have anything to worry about. Just, check when you take a photo, check your photo, just see if it's clear. And the more inspections that you do, the better you will become. And even I've been doing inspections for a long time, still make blunders. That's going to happen because we're human. To the right photo, you see a service tag, a yellow service tag of a fire extinguisher. Well, from there, I can see that if you look at the top bottom, there's a little green indicator. I can see that is in the green, which is good. I also can see which service department, which company, in this case, LaGrange Fire Protection in West Point, serviced this fire extinguisher. I also can see that it was done in 2005. It was done in August of 2005. So I see taking a photo such as that, and then taking a photo such as that will give me the necessary information that I need. Now, what I was about to say is that you may go across to where there's no yellow service tag. That's okay. Just take a picture of the fire extinguisher. So these are all good examples of good photos. Now let's go into photos that are not so good or poor or bad. Now these are actual live photos that were taken in 2005. And I'm going to say it was taken by me. I'm going to put myself out there. Now, the first picture that we want to just to cover is on the outside. I could still use this picture because of the house, because I still can see the structure of the house. I still can see, you know, front, right hand side there. I still can make and determine whether this house is pretty sound. But the point that I want to make is that there is it's later in the day. I know that the west is to the rear of the house because the sun is pointing at me. I just want you to aware that when you're taking photos there, and sometimes you can't help it. We're not going to wait until the sun to go down in order for you to get a clear shot without the daylight. I just wanted just to make you aware of that. Daylight of shooting against daylight affects your picture there, and sometimes you may have to slightly move to the left or right to minimize or eliminate that glare there. So just be aware of that. Now, the other two photos where you see the motion blur are inside. This particular house, this is another different type of inspection. I won't go into that type of inspection, but I used the photos just to kind of illustrate what I'm talking about. This was a particular house that had been foreclosed on, and we were doing maid services for it. In other words, just cleaning out, but it had no electricity in it, and I was um, taking photos quite rapidly and not checking photos. Well, based on my experience, I was taking more than enough photos, so I wasn't worrying about if there was a few that was blurred. Based on the law of numbers, I took more photos to where I can ensure that I had good enough photos to use. Now, I also checked my photos as well. I was using a regular camera, which was like built in 19 or purchased in maybe 2000 or 2007 or something like that. But it's still good enough to use. You don't have to go out and buy any equipment. Matter of fact, I recommend and forbade that you do not buy any equipment. Just use what you got. But the point, needless to say, the point is that in low light, you're going to have to be still and have your flasher on and to check your photos once you've taken these photos. Okay, so that's the whole point of this. You see good photos versus bad photos, and enough said about that. Now, just for some tips and tricks, again, in the inspector's guide or checklist, you'll get pretty much a good summation or tips and tricks about what you should and should not do. But I want to just point out this. Bef- before you go out to any inspections, you must get a verbal authorization or something, or text information or something. You want to make sure that, yes, hey, I am clear to go to this location. But even before that, you got to know your requirements. You got to know what's expected. Like I said, every inspection is not the same. It might be different. So make sure for us or whomever, and whether it's the rental group or not, if you're going to some other client, make sure you have the requirements that you need in order to go out there. And why? Because the requirement should tell you that, hey, I've linked up with the actual owner, business owner, landlord, whomever point of contact that you're going to talk to on the ground. Some inspections do not require for you to make any coordination with the point of contact. Some inspections may be just a drive-by to where you're just going there, you're documenting the property from the roadside. And we, on another presentation, we'll get into how you can exactly do that. But you want to make sure you got your requirements. And most importantly, the address. Why? I'm glad you asked. So that you can take the address, put it in Google, do a map spot, or just do a reconnaissance. In other words, look and see if the address matches up with Google. If Google can find it, then 9 times out of 10, you can find it. But even more importantly, you want to see Google provides a street side view. So if I can put in that address, I then can see a street side view of what I'm going to anticipate. And I can kind of look and see, all right, I noticed that it's to the left of the greenhouse, or it's nearby, or it's a pretty good area, whatever the case may be. So it's going to give me some insight before I even set foot out of my house, and that's what you want. And then plus any pertinent information that we're going to give you prior to you going out. And then thirdly, um, we'll give you the verbal authorization. Say, hey, you're good to go. We'll text you, hey, you're good to go. Well, you're going to link up with so and so at this time. We'll do all the coordination for you. You just simply go out and take pictures as you've been tasked for. Now, if there's any additional instructions that we may give, we will give those specifically to the individual. For tools and gear, since this is just an overview, it's not for an experienced inspectors. Only thing you need is a smartphone, a camera, and a place to get there, how to get there. Okay. So once you get to the location, we want to, time is money and money is time. We want to make sure that based on those details, that pertinent information we give to you, let's just say you're going to meet with Bob. Okay. When you go there, hi, Bob. Look, I am a field inspector. I'm assisting the rental group, or you're assisting so and so. And I was tasked here to document your property. Oh, yeah, sure. We're aware that you're doing that, and go right ahead. So what I generally do when I'm on inspections, because I do inspections still, is that I do it pretty much in the same way all the time, because then it becomes rote. It becomes muscle memory. And so what I would do on a typical inspection is that once I make contact with them, and I don't necessarily do it all the time because I've been doing it for a long time. But anyway, I'll probably go out to the street side, take a street view left, take a street view right, and then turn about face and face the house, take a full frontal view. Then I'll step to the left and take a full frontal left view. I do it to the right side, take a full right side view. I go to the rear and take a full rear view. Once I've documented the exterior there, if I have not included the address in those photos, let's just say there's an address is already on the front door. So when I took that full frontal photo, the address is already included. If there's no address on the building structure, maybe there's a mailbox with the address on it. Then I'll take a picture of the mailbox before. Just make sure you be aware of that. So we've documented the exterior of the property, building, structure, what have you. Now we're going into the inside. And again, remember the landscape, the wide angle view. Maybe I stand at the entrance door and take a shot of the whole entire inside from that side. I'm going to look for smoke detectors, take a picture of that. I'm going to look for fire extinguishers, take for that. If you don't see it, say it, ask them, hey, where's your fire extinguishers, right? And then could you show me where the electrical panel box or breaker box is? Open the panel box, take a picture of it, and then I may be at the rear of the property and the inside. I may take and shoot a picture back to the entrance of the door. So I can kind of document the full 360 of the view. And why we do that is that the photo may capture things that we may not be aware of until we see the actual photos there. But if you do that, you're pretty much well covered. And so long as your photos are clear, you're good to go. And again, just refer to your inspector's guide for the photos that's required, but more importantly, that information will be given to you prior to that assignment of that inspection at the beginning. The communication with the property owners, we're going to do all the communication for you. We're the command and control. We're going to coordinate for you. Only thing you're going to do is just go out and take pictures. But we want you to know that, for example, sometimes there's um, people change. They might be a different person there. Let's just say we've done all the prior coordination. We said to meet up with Bob. Bob wasn't there doing your inspection, but there was his employee. Employee was giving you a hard time. Employee say, hey, you're not taking no pictures. No, I'm not aware. Get off my property. Okay, sir. Only thing you have to do is like, hey, all right, thank you, sir. Have a great day, and then just report it back to us. And what we'll do is we still are going to pay you because you've done your part to do that. Now, when you're in the right of way on the street side, hey, you still can take pictures as long as you're on public access, okay? You just can't go on the property at the rear, but take one or two pictures just to document that you was there. You're still going to get paid um, as promised, but it allows us to gather, details and evidence to go to the stakeholder and say, hey, look, we were there. Your guy, your gal refused to allow us the inspections, and therefore um, you're going to have to make amends or send additional expenses that we incur, whatever the case may be. But we'll worry about that. Your part is just to make sure that, hey, if they give you any pushback, just be respectful, professional, and thank you, and go on your way. Okay? For report writing, which is next, I had mentioned this at the brief at the beginning of this presentation. Don't worry about that unless you have been specifically tasked. Don't worry about report writing. We're doing that. And then a report writing is for someone who's more seasoned and not just starting out. But the just in a nutshell, the report writing is simply going to answer the five journalistic questions so that we can write a business profile. Who is the business? Where are they located? What do they do? Who are the employees? You know, where or how do they service their clients or their clientele or their customers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We also include, this building is comprised of joint masonry. It's built in 1927. It has X amount of square footage. There was no deficiencies or risk concerns observed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Each client requires different, their requirements are different, but again, I'm just giving you this for FYI, but at this point, you won't worry about any report writing. So that is why I'm just glazing over the report writing. Again, um, we'll get, this is not for you. But if you are been tasked with report writing, it's just use common, plain, clear language. Don't use any jargons and things of that nature. Just be clear and concise, straight to the point. Simple is better. And for any report or any writing that you do, we have so much technology now that it is almost unheard of. Only thing you have to do is just proofread, check any photos or attachments, make sure they're labeled correctly, and just to simply deliver the reports along with the pictures in a timely manner or within the time frame that the stakeholder or client required. But again, unless you're tasked with report writing, your main job is just to simply go out and assist us with taking photos. So, questions and answers. If you have any questions, please send questions to services at therentalgrp.com. Send questions there. If you say, hey, this is how you can make this slide presentation better, send those comments. If you say, hey, this slide presentation sucks, okay, send those comments. Any comments that you send, we're going to take, we're going to assess, we're going to see if there's valid and to where we can make any improvements. I hope that this presentation has been beneficial enough that it has added value to your time. We appreciate and thank you for giving of your time for this presentation. But again, if you got any questions, please reach out to Alvin or the Renter Group at that number. But by always, if you can always certainly reach us by email, as though sometimes we're out in the field, we're doing inspections, but you certainly can call us, leave us a message, or get back with us. Our website is there as you see at the bottom. Use the contact page. You can contact us that way as well. But anyway, We'll have more presentations to kind of deep dive into um, the varied and many aspects of field inspections. Thank you for attending and have a great day. Bye bye.